So my name's Erin and I'm the owner here at Mortimer Street. We were partway through going with another builder and then we literally switched over to Matt and his team because of the flexibility and the transparency and the communication. So we actually came to Matt with our plans done and then he just slotted in very naturally in with the draftsman and his team to be able to finish everything off. So at that point they were working through finalising the design, they were finalising the engineering. He also introduced us to Kate as well at Tomorrow Living & Co. And she came in at that point because she helped us with the outside final pieces of design and the inside pieces just to make sure that it was all coming together. And it just meant that Kate, Matt and the draftsman finished off working together. And Matt was even working with the engineers as well, just to make sure that everything was really crystal clear and everybody knew exactly what we needed to achieve. From the first time that they dug a hole in the ground is when we first started to get really excited. Up until then, it had just been a dream. And then as we started to see the project develop the whole way through, and it happened really fast. Like it was the speed of this build is incredible in comparison to anyone else I've ever known that's built. And so we saw progress every single day. Every single day. There were people here that were doing things, and that was from the moment they dug the holes in the ground to putting up the frame, to putting on the roof, to putting in windows. Everything just happened so fast and we could see the whole build coming to life. So I don't know if there's one moment that I was most excited, and then every single moment was a bit like that. As every time we walked into the house, there's something new to look at again. There was one moment in particular I remember where everyone came together, and that was Matt and James and Dennis and Kate and the electrician and the cabinet maker. At some point throughout the day, everybody was here to make sure that everything was in the right spot. So we had PowerPoints being talked about, light switches, like where the doors were going, what colour things were. Everything was coming together all at once. So there was one point where Kate had all of the materials out on the floor, and I think there was about 6 or 7 people standing around talking about what was on the floor. And it was literally a piece of the stone, a piece of the ground, and a piece of the colour of the walls. Like everything was in one spot, and they were managing to bring everything together at one moment. And that was probably a moment throughout the build that I don't think I've heard of anybody doing before, where all the trades came together underneath one kind of focus to go, we've got to get this right from here. And that was a particular moment I remember. So there was one moment where we did make a change, and that was in the curve of this bench. This was originally a square end to the bench. In combination with Matt and James and Kate and Johnny, we really worked together to figure out how to make this a nicer space and a little softer. One of the guys made a comment about it being too close to the balustrade, for example, and then Kate was talking about the harshness of it. So really what they came up with was a curve that would work for everybody. It wasn't necessarily instantaneous. They did need to go away and really think about how they could make it work, but the combination of them together is what made it all come together. Matt and his team were really focused on the details, and that was from every moment throughout the build. They would think about where something should go or how it should be done. They worked in with the people that provided the appliances. They worked in with Kate when she was really specific on wanting something in a particular way. They would work with us to make sure that everything was placed properly. And so when you walk through the home, right from the front door to right into the backyard, every single thing, you can see quality craftsmanship, the attention to detail is really quite outstanding. I love that they even worked in with the landscapers right towards the end to make sure the placement of plants would make sense, and that it's just every single detail has really been thought through. You know, something that really struck me about Ryan Developments is that the tradespeople on site are really clean, they're really tidy, they're neat, they tidy up after themselves. Like each day when you would come to site or when you were here, it was never a mess. There was no mess anywhere. It was just James, who was the lead builder here, who was just exceptional. That was a real difference, was having that consistency of one person that would be working with all the other trades to make sure that his standards were met. And that was something that was really noticeable here. As James's standards are so high, and that every one of the tradespeople that were here, they'd follow his standards. And so they didn't leave their rubbish, they cleaned up after themselves, it was tidy all the time. I'd really strongly suggest that when you start this process, you get in contact with Matt at Ryan Developments as early as possible in the process. He'll be able to guide you through how long something might take. He'll be transparent and honest about that, and he'll work with you to make sure that the finished product is one of quality, and what we were looking for was durability into the future for our family.